I'm Laurel Beversdorf, strength and conditioning coach.
And I'm Dr. Sarah Court, physical therapist.
With over 30 years of combined experience in fitness, movement, and physical therapy,
we believe in strong opinions, loosely held.
Which means we're not here to hype outdated movement concepts.
Or to gatekeep or fearmonger strength training for women.
For too long, women have been sidelined in strength training.
Oh, you mean handed pink dumbbells and told to sculpt?
Whatever that means, we're here to change that with tools, evidence, and ideas that center women's needs and voices.
Let's dive in. Welcome to the Movement Logic Podcast. I'm Dr. Sarah Court. I'm a physical therapist, and I am here with my co-host, Laurel Beversdorf, CSCS. She is a strength and conditioning coach and a yoga teacher. Laurel, what is up?
Well, first of all, that was a rousing intro.
Thank you.
Second of all, what is up? What is up? Well, I'm 44, and funny story, 2 days ago, I thought I might be pregnant.
Hey.
Good
job, Nathan. Woo!
And because we are probably going to talk a little bit about cycles and cycle syncing this upcoming season. The only reason I knew that there was a very, 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 very small chance that I was that I wear a Garmin, which is a running watch, and it is, a place where I can track my cycle. I can push the button that says you started it, push the button that says you stopped it, and then it will predict things, right? Well, I looked at my Garmin. I was like, oh shit, I'm 3 days late. What the fuck? Like, usually these days I have not been. This is probably TMI, but fuck it. I had a very irregular cycle through most of my early 20s for various reasons. And some of them probably had to do with birth control, and other of them had to do with, maybe I just had a regular cycle and I just was never paying attention and had no idea when it stopped or started, which has been actually most of my life. And so when I got this Garmin, I actually started to notice that actually I'm very regular, that, I'm getting it, even though I'm 44 and maybe things are changing, like getting it kind of at the same time that it says it's going to get it to a T. Like it says, you're going to start your period tomorrow, and I start my period tomorrow. So that's why when I looked at my Garmin, it was like 3 days later. I was like, what? And I have an IUD in. It's non-hormonal. I've been told that it's very, very effective. And I was like, but I know that there's always this very, very small chance. And I'm sitting at the table with my daughter, and my husband's still sleeping, and I'm, she's having breakfast, and my mind is like wandering far into the future of like having a second child, and like, what's that going to be like? And what are you going to do about it? And like, bizarre thing. Of course, I'm not pregnant. I happen to have a pregnancy test in my bathroom, took it, not pregnant. But it was just a really funny rabbit hole to go down. And then also not funny, because then I was like, oh, I live in Alabama, and being pregnant and having a child in Alabama is probably a lot more dangerous than in other states for various reasons, not least of which the Roe v. Wade being overturned. But anyway, all this to be said, that was a very strange rabbit hole to go down. That was a funny, not funny, sort of still funny, new thought.
Yeah, right. It's always the new thoughts that get you, the one you haven't had before. You're like, yeah, that's a whole new idea that there would be a second little person running around here.
Yeah,
that I've really never entertained.
Yeah, and I like went kind of fast forward, backwards in time to being a new mother, and to like what my husband and I, that period of time when you have a newborn is just a blur, and then also like the period of time in which they're a baby and then a toddler, and then bringing her all the way up to like 6 years old. A lot has changed, and it took a lot of work and a lot of energy, and to like suddenly be thrown into this possible situation where like that could all be repeated again.
Right.
And I'm 44, and I even was like, oh, and so I'll be 55 when they're 10. Like, you go,
I'll be going to their college graduation at 70.
Yeah. So I was happy that I somehow managed to have some pregnancy tests in the closet, and I could just get an answer immediately. And then I was like, oh, just kidding. Just kidding. So that's what's new with me.
That's okay. That's some good banter.
Which is actually not new. Nothing's new. But
nothing's new.
That was a new thought.
The new is the thought. You had a new thought. That was the new part.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think of like what's new with me that isn't depressing, because I'm actually dealing with an injury right now that's like been a bit confusing. I don't fully have the answers yet. It's irritating, but I do have a funny story about, I was recently in New York with my friend, and we went upstate. We went into the Catskills. We got a little log cabin, Airbnb. It was stunning, gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to go on this sort of relatively tough hike. It's an out and back, but it's pretty steep uphill all the way. Like you're basically just climbing the mountain and then coming back down.
Yeah.
And we made a fatal error, which is we took gummies before we started the hike. And it was really the timing that was the issue. Like we should have gotten to the top, taken the gummy there, but we didn't. We took the gummy and then we started the hike. And it's steep, so we're taking breaks. And then there was one point, I think we were about halfway up the hill, and there was this big flat stone, and we both sat down on it for a second, and we kind of looked at each other, and we were just like, I don't think I can keep going. Can you keep going? I don't think my legs just don't. I don't know how my legs work. Like it just became very confusing why we were even trying to climb the hill to begin with. Like what was? And then my friend was like, if we go up more, we're gonna have to go down more. And I was like, you're a genius. So we just turned around and stumbled back down the hill. Yeah. So that was a fun thing that happened recently.
Do you think your legs were both tired and you were perceiving them differently? Oh.
No, I was just, it just felt very, I'm not sure how to make this happen. Like what are legs? Kind of what it do. Yeah, it was. We spent the rest of the afternoon just like lying around watching movies and giggling. Like that was kind of
okay. Yeah, that was more the more appropriate activity to be engaging.
Yeah, we should have started there and just stayed there, but we tried to climb a hill and we were unsuccessful.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's a way to assure that you do some physical activity on a day that you're going to take a gummy. Is like, well, let's take the gummy while we're doing the physical activity. That way, we won't end up in this like puddle of inertia.
Right.
That never happens, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what that was. Mm-hmm, I mean, that's what we planned.
Very strategic.
Thanks.
Well thought out, Corey.
Thank you. All right. So before we get started on this episode, we wanted to talk real quick about our bone density course, Lift for Longevity. We're about halfway through with our current cohort. Is that right, Laurel?
Yes, we are. We are almost exactly halfway through.
Yeah, and they're really killing it. I'm really impressed with this group in particular. And we are now offering this course every 6 months. It's a 6-month long course. So the next cohort starts in November, which might seem like a while away, but when this airs, it's going to be September. So it's not actually that far away.
Right. It feels far for us right now.
For us, because it's July. But there's a link in bio. You can get on the special wait list for the course.
Link in show notes.
There's a link in show notes. You can get on this special.
Everywhere. There's an Abraham Lincoln in Instagram.
They're everywhere.
Podcasts.
They really are. Just find a link wherever you are. Click on that link. And you will get on the wait list. There has been some confusion in the past. I just want to say, some people are like, oh, I see that there's a wait list, therefore you are sold out. No, you get on the wait list so that you can get the special discount when the special discount is offered.
Sarah wants to change it to say interested list.
Or something like that, because we do have people writing in being like, oh, well, I wanted to sign up, but I saw that it was full, so I didn't.
Yeah, I feel like, you know what? I'm starting to change my mind on this, Sarah. I think you might be right. Maybe we should change it to interested list, because there have been an awful lot of emails coming in so sad I missed it. Very disappointed, very, like, oh, crap, too late. And I wish that we just had like thousands of people signing up to the point where we were like, we literally cannot take another person. I mean, the internet will not support that, or there's no ability to scale up that high on Zoom, but that is not the case, right? I have been having about 10 people in class live, and that is a very manageable amount of people.
Yeah.
And then
That is from a cohort of about 65, 70 people.
Yeah. And we have had 90 people. We have had maybe more than that. But generally speaking, we get about between 60, 100 people sign up for this course. Only about 10 to 15 maybe come to the live classes. And you are almost guaranteed to get in if you want to get in. The wait list is really just your way of going, I'm interested. And in saying that and telling us that, you're putting your name on our email list, you're going to definitely hear about it. You're also going to get an exclusive discount to the course.
Yes, and a bunch of freebies along the way, because we start sending emails to that special mailing list with things that you might not see elsewhere.
Right. So you're going to get free stuff. You're going to get a discount. You're going to definitely not forget to sign up for the course. So
that's right.
Get on the wait list. Yeah. The wait list or the interested list, whatever you want to call it.
Well, we will brainstorm a new name at some point. Okay. So today's episode, let's get to the episode, shall we? Today's episode, we're talking about some of the myths around menopause, specifically the supposed reasons why certain changes are taking place and the supposed fixes for those changes. When it comes to menopause, the myth is typically not that X new experience is happening. It is happening, like hot flashes, body composition changes, mood changes. The myth shows up around how to deal with it or fix it, or whether it even needs fixing, or if the fix would work for everyone going through menopause, or whether it's even happening to everyone or just a few people, or even whether it's specific to menopause or it's just a part of aging, and so on.
Yeah. Later in this season, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of menopause grifters using our patented Griftometer TM, which we debuted in last season, where we did an entire episode on bone density grifters. But today, we're going to be going through a lot of the mythology that's out there drifting around on the internet. We'll take examples from social media, then take apart that example claim, investigate the so-called solution that's being proposed, maybe also the problem that's been created to sell you that solution, and then see if it is a problem, if it is something that even needs solving, if it's solved through that solution.
Right. All right. Now, before we get into it, I want to take a moment and talk about where Laurel and I each are in our respective lifespans in relation to the menopause transition, because having delved into the ugly, and I mean ugly, depths of meno-marketing, I've seen a lot of stuff that I was just, ugh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of women selling stuff to menopausal women who are themselves clearly nowhere near menopause.
Right.
Which leads me to believe that it's a very lucrative wagon to jump on. And it turns out that that's true. In 2024, the menopause industry is valued at $17.79 billion. That's with a B. Wow. McKinsey suggests that it is a still largely untapped market. And I saw another statistic that said it's projected to get to $24 billion by 2030.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's both a bit horrifying and it's also kind of unsurprising, right? Because at first, middle-aged women were glad that this population was finally getting some attention, since historically our bodies and our medical needs are overlooked and ignored, especially around things like menopause symptoms. People were told to just kind of like get a fan and wear layers. Like I've literally read that as advice.
Yeah.
You know, this joy that we're finally being acknowledged very quickly mutated into, oh, this is a whole new area for grifters to grift and grab some of that sweet, sweet $17 billion.
Yeah.
So this is completely taking advantage of A, women's gratitude that someone is finally paying attention, B, a lack of widely available information as to what works and for whom and why, and C, a medical industry that has historically not given any attention to this population.
Yeah.
So let's, you and I, Laurel, be 100% transparent. Where are you in relationship to menopause? Are you seeing any changes? Are you peri yet? It would be a bit early for you, I think.
Well, I think I might, I thought I might be pregnant. So.
Right.
Apparently I'm not that peri or not that, No, so I think that I can cautiously say that I am seeing some changes. For example, my period, I'm not pregnant and my period is 6 days late. That is actually, if that is going to become like a regular thing where my period is late all the time or early or irregular like this, then I would say that could probably signal that I'm in perimenopause. Some other things that I notice are when I get stressed out now, my body gets hotter. Like,
welcome.
And sometimes I am awake at night and just feeling very hot for some reason. Now, could it be that I sleep next to my husband who has a lot of body heat, or that my cat sleeps on top of me? Sure, it could be those things. Could it also be that I tend to wear like sweatpants and a sweatshirt to bed because I'm always cold and I also have a down comforter over me? These could be true too. I just feel that I don't remember, and again, memory's fuzzy, but I don't remember having these experiences of just being kind of sweaty hot or like a sudden wave of heat washing over me earlier in my life when I would say be a little stressed out at the computer or in the middle of the night when I wake up. So I feel like this is probably a clue that I'm approaching or in perimenopause, approaching menopause. But again, perimenopause can last for like 10 years. By the way, I just want to cite the podcast episode I recorded with Trina Altman, A Perimenopause Perspective. We can link that in the show notes where she talks about some of what Sarah and I are telling you about here. When I think about being in perimenopause, I think about my mom because I have vivid memories of her expressing a lot of distress around her menopause symptoms. She was a good sport. I mean, my mom generally was like a good sport about a lot of things, but she was a good sport about it. But she felt like it was just very overwhelming, the hot flashes, especially. She would often be walking around with ice water or would swear by the need to like drink ice water before bed or timing when she was going to have ice water. Ice water was like one of her main go-tos. And then also she was prescribed by her doctor black cohosh, which I think has since been shown to not be effective at all. This was in the like late 90s. Okay. And so when I think about symptoms, I often remember my mother. And I have to say, I don't feel that I am experiencing that level of symptoms, but that makes sense because I think my mother was in her 50s or late 40s, early 50s when these were happening. And I think I'm 44, so probably a little soon.
Yeah. You're just getting a little amuse-bouche of fun new symptoms.
But I want to say it's sometimes, apart from the hot flash type thing, it becomes difficult for me to separate out what changes I'm experiencing are menopause specific versus what changes are just because I am in my mid 40s now, right? Like
totally.
Also, what changes are because I have a different lifestyle than I did when I was in my 30s or 20s, right? Like I have a child now. I have a geriatric cat who moves around on me a lot at night. Like I get up really early in the morning so that I can get work done before my daughter gets up so that I can be present with her in the morning. And these are all reasons why my sleep might sometimes not be as good as I remember it being, right?
Yeah.
In addition to possibly these other symptoms. So,
I mean, that's part of this episode, right? Is trying to tease out, are these specific to menopause or is this just because you are the age that you are?
Yeah.
I think from what I've been reading and everything, anything that appears to be hormone related, like the hot flashes during the day or getting heated. And this is something from my experience that I've noticed as well. Like if I am irritated, instant hot flash.
Yep.
Like, so there is an emotional component to it sometimes. And the night sweats, things like that, possibly your period being late. Those may be perimenopause related, but I think anything else is probably not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So my story, which some listeners will know, some might not, but in 2021, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and I went through a bilateral mastectomy and reconstruction, and I went through chemotherapy. And then I went on a medication called tamoxifen. And the purpose of tamoxifen, which I still take, this is my fourth, I think next year is my last year on it. I have to take it for 5 years. But it aggressively removes all of the estrogen from your body. I mean, not all, but the majority.
Right.
It's sometimes called medical menopause. I was certainly having perimenopausal symptoms. Like my period was suddenly showing up every 3 weeks, which was like, That's more
fun.
often than I want.
Yeah.
But I was definitely noticing a few things here and there. Like I was noticing changes, but then when I went through this treatment, it was like just getting kicked off a cliff. So I have experienced really severe hot flashes, night sweats, just general inability to thermoregulate what's called genitourinary symptoms of menopause, which is changes to the tissues in and around the labia and the entrance to the vagina, which I also just read is more common for people in medical menopause for that to be more severe. I'm like, awesome. So that's where I am. So we're kind of on two ends of the spectrum. Laurel is maybe starting to approach perimenopause. I've gone through, I'm still kind of going through this like really aggressive menopause. It's like probably not that similar to most people's. Mm-hmm. So the women going through menopause transition right now are somewhere in between the two of us, I think, in terms of like the things they're going through in their bodies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to start there because I'm like, sometimes I'll see like a, fresh-faced 29-year-old selling creatine and collagen and vitamin D. I'm like, what the fuck do you know about anything? Like you have no business. And also you're too young.
Right.
All right. Well, let's get into our meno myths because we have plenty to get through. Laurel, do you want to kick us off?
Yes. Let's talk this first myth, which I think is, I don't know, I think I hear this one the most.
Yeah.
And it's just a plain, straight up myth. And it's this: menopause blunts your metabolism. Okay. It slows it down. When you hit menopause, your metabolism slows down. So what this myth is claiming is the body composition and or weight gain changes that you might be experiencing around the time that you are also perimenopausal, going through menopause, that these changes are because of menopause. Now, you can be seeing these changes for sure around this time, but the myth part is the reason, the explanation behind these changes. And the explanation is that it's due to menopause. Now, according to the grifters, there are a lot of possible menopause-related reasons that this is happening to you. Cortisol. Uh-oh. Your cortisol is too high. Or estrogen. Your estrogen is decreased. This means for some reason, and they don't really... They don't share their receipts on the mechanisms, but this means that your body is now gaining weight. Cortisol is estrogen, enough said. That's why you're gaining weight. And in particular, it's why you're gaining that stubborn belly fat. Sarah texted me like 2 weeks ago, and she was like, if I read the phrase stubborn belly fat one more time, I'm going to put it on a t-shirt.
I mean, I still think it would be a really good t-shirt. Stubborn belly fat.
I think it's as good as the t-shirt you sent me in the mail
a
couple weeks ago, which says, I have rabies.
I wore that t-shirt out the other day and I got a lot of looks.
Yeah. Yeah. Any laughs or just like
a few giggles, but a lot of like stare and look away kind of thing.
Those are people with no sense of humor.
I agree.
So just to clarify, the difference between body composition changes and weight gain is that body composition is talking about percentages of lean muscle mass and adipose in your body. Lean muscle mass is, we usually think of it as muscle, but it includes also bone, whereas fat is fat, right? It's about the percentage of lean muscle mass or lean mass, we'll just say lean mass to fat, right? Or adipose in your body. And it's also about where your body is storing the fat specifically. It could also be about where your body has more muscle mass, right? So where you've hypertrophied versus not hypertrophied muscle. Okay. So weight gain is a little different. Weight gain is associated with how much mass your body has, and that's registered by the number on the scale, right? So you can change your body composition and not change your weight. And you can possibly also change your weight and not change your body composition, I guess. You'd have to be losing fat and muscle in the same proportions. But at any rate, you can actually change your body composition by acquiring more lean mass, but gain weight, right? So more lean mass, you gain weight if you haven't maybe lost adipose, or because muscle does weigh a little bit more than fat. And you can also lose muscle while you're losing weight, right? Which is typically not considered to be ideal. They're different. So some women are seeing in this period around perimenopause and menopause, they're seeing more fat storage around the waist than they used to. But they didn't necessarily maybe gain weight on the scale. Their body composition has changed, but their weight hasn't. It's kind of like that announcement when you're on a flight, like, be careful opening the overhead compartments as some items may have shifted during flight. Like during menopause, where your adipose is stored may have shifted slightly in your body.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen this to be true. My waist has expanded. Not an insane amount, but an amount that is noticeable to me. Mm-hmm. But I have not experienced any like massive weight gain overall.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So then there's gaining weight, which you might still see visually as occurring around the waist, but you're also perhaps seeing the number on the scale has increased meaningfully above an amount that you would consider normal daily fluctuations. So this is also something that people in this age around perimenopause and menopause experience as well, which is just weight gain. They get on the scale and they're like, wow, like somewhere along the line over the last 5 years, I have put on this extra amount of weight and I have no idea where it came from and how that happened. So there are all kinds of fixes being promoted out there, depending on what exactly you're blaming this supposed menopause weight gain on. There's a lot of fixes being pushed from do a special diet. It's low carb, high protein, or it's no carb, or it's supplements like take turmeric for belly fat, to take menopause hormone therapy. Used to be called, what was it?
It used to be called hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah, now the correct term is menopause hormone therapy. These are promoted as solutions to this mysterious weight gain that we want to say is because of menopause or perimenopause. Also, there's lots of solutions around exercise promoted, like you are exercising all wrong. This is not the way you should be exercising at this time in your life. That's why you have all of this stubborn belly fat. That's why you have this weight on the scale that you don't like to see. Here, you have to actually exercise in this particular way to lose this fat, to change your body composition in this like more ideal way. But first of all, if we back up a little bit, what we know from a really big study, and this is a really good study, and it was done on a ton of people, men and women. What we know is that metabolic rate doesn't actually change until age 63. And that's
approximately.
Yeah, approximately. And that's way past when people go through menopause.
Yeah.
And I think it also found that it was the same age when metabolic rate changed for men and women, right?
Yes. There's no difference.
So this is the study. Daily energy expenditure through the human life course is the name of the paper. Herman Ponzer, which you've probably heard us mention his name, was the primary lead investigator. And the study was done in 2022. You may have heard us mention Herman Ponzer when we were talking about the book Burn, which we used in an episode called Long and Lean Part 2, where we looked at metabolism and the accuracy of claiming that formats like Pilates can spot reduce fat, basically make you long and lean in this sort of dog whistly way. Do Pilates so you can look like this. We really debunked that claim by looking at Herman Ponzer's book, Burn, about metabolism. So in this study, over 6,000 men and women from 29 different countries and a variety of economic backgrounds were included. And they measured the energy expenditure through something called the doubly labeled water method.
Okay, I just want to break in because when I first read doubly labeled water method, I was like, that sounds like hocus pocus. But it's actually the absolute gold standard measurement for energy expenditure. I read the description of what it is a couple of times through, and this is the best that I have for you. So doubly labeled water method, it has to do with the rate at which hydrogen versus oxygen is eliminated in the body as a reflection of carbon dioxide production. And they measure it somehow with isotopes. And that's really all I can explain about it. because that's as much as I understood.
Yeah.
But this is the gold standard for energy expenditure measurement.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Your Garmin watch is not the gold standard. Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
In fact, any machine at the gym or device that you wear that tells you how many calories you just burned is garbage information, means nothing.
Yep.
Okay. So this study found that there were 4 metabolic stages that could be established when you're between 0 and 1 years old, between 1 and 20 years old, between 20 and 60 years old, and 60 and up. So this means that metabolism changes in a significantly noticeable way when you do research on a large population between the ages of 0 being born and 1, okay? Then after year 1, up until year 20, it kind of stays steady. Then it changes from 20 to 60, kind of stays steady in there. That's a long ass time, right?
Yeah.
20 to 60. Okay, that's 40 years if my math is correct.
I think your math is correct.
Okay. And then at 60 and up, and they said the average age was around 63, it changes again. Now, perimenopause, menopause, this is happening between 40 and 55. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So another thing that's really interesting is that they did not see metabolic changes in pregnant women.
I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, it is, because I ate a lot more when I was pregnant than I did even training for a marathon, I think.
Yeah.
I remember just like pounding food when I was pregnant. And the exercise I was doing in my first trimester was mostly just walking because I felt too ill to do anything else, but I would just pound so much food. So they did not see metabolic changes. Here's the main point here. They did not see metabolic changes in menopausal women.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Your body may feel like you have gained weight, and you may have gained weight, right? We're not guessing.
Exactly.
But it's not because your metabolism slowed down. It's not because it really changed meaningfully at all.
Mm-mm.
It may be that an area like your waist, which previously was not a place you stored fat, now has become one.
Mm-hmm.
So the reasons you might be experiencing increased weight gain could be because over the course of 5 to 10 years, without really realizing it, you've just gradually been decreasing your physical activity levels. I find sometimes this is more about the physical activity you're doing between your workouts. Like you're just not walking as much. You're not getting up and doing as much physical labor for whatever reason. Maybe you're also just exercising less. And there's also an incremental change sometimes to your caloric intake that can start to gradually creep up that you don't realize. Mm-hmm. This very incremental change in weight gain over several years can be a combination of less energy expended because of less physical activity in combination with or because of this increased caloric intake. And it's something that happens, both of them happen so slowly and so gradually that the weight gain is very gradual, right? You didn't just take a cruise for a week and have an all-you-can-eat buffet, 3 meals a day for 7 days and eat dessert at the end of every meal and then come home and be like, why did I gain so much weight? It's much more chronic than that. It's creeping up on you. And this is something that I was not aware of, that I hadn't really considered until I listened to Dr. Eric Trexler, who actually works in Ponzer's lab, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Talking with our friend, Dr. Lauren Colenso-Semple, on their podcast, Front Page Fitness. They are both experts in both exercise and nutrition. And they speak often about this tendency toward this gradual weight gain being the result of just a very slow and hard to detect gradual increase in caloric intake. So it's hard to make that a convincing argument for someone who's convinced, though, that it's because their cortisol levels are out of control or because they are menopausal and this is because their metabolism has been blunted. But that does appear to be the most rational, reasonable, evidence-based explanation for weight gain. Now, the body composition change of storing more fat in the belly, that is because of the hormonal changes associated with perimenopause and menopause. So I just want to also make that distinction, right? We're not saying that belly fat is because of incremental increases to caloric intake. No, that redistribution of fat, like objects may have shifted during your life as you've gotten a little older, as your hormones have shifted. But yeah, when you see a bigger number on the scale, or when you notice that you just have less muscle and more body fat generally, this is explained through this energy balance. And it's become sort of a calories in, calories out is not what's happening. It couldn't possibly be the explanation. That's overly simple, but it's physics. It literally is how it works.
Yeah. And I think it's in a lot of ways, I don't want to like trash talk people, but I'm going to do it a little bit, but I think it's much easier. No, I think it's much easier to accept an explanation that something's happening that you didn't do.
Right.
Right. Like this is just happening to you because you're going through menopause, and guess what? Here, take this supplement and it will magically disappear. I mean, I see these ads for things like this all the time because they know who I am. They know what I'm dealing with. But the idea that, oh no, actually, if I really look at my lifestyle, like I'm now CEO or I have a desk job, whereas before I had a job where I was moving around a lot, right? Yeah. I am just sitting a lot more in general for whatever reason. Yeah. I have started adding a 4 p.m. snack to my day. And maybe that snack is 300 or 400 calories. And maybe on one day that's not a thing, but if you keep doing that and you're not also burning the calories needed to keep your weight at a certain level, that's that sort of incremental over time thing that I think they're talking about.
It's hard to detect, and it's much harder to make those lifestyle changes on a day-to-day basis when so much like subliminally is pulling you toward not being as physically active or not a little snack break or whatever it is. And it's much easier to go, oh, so what I was missing was turmeric.
Right, exactly.
Or I'm just not exercising the right way. And so if I start exercising in this right way, that's actually even exercise being the much more difficult solution there than just taking turmeric.
Right.
Actually much simpler fix than going, I actually need to evaluate how I'm taking in energy all day long.
Yeah.
Try to figure out, or I have to evaluate how much physical activity I'm engaging in all day long, all week long, all month, like from now until forever. If I want to understand why I'm incrementally gaining weight, that's hard. That's really fucking hard.
It is. It is.
It's when it's subtle, and it usually is, right?
Yeah.
Like not a week on a cruise ship.
No. Although that week you described sound kind of amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done a cruise for 4 days, and the eating was one of the best parts.
All right. Well, let's get into our second myth. Our second myth is that now that you are in the menopause transition, your cortisol is elevated and it's causing all kinds of problems for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what this myth is claiming, that your cortisol becomes elevated in perimenopause and it wreaks havoc on your body, from weight gain to muscle loss to being what they call tired and wired. Let's take a moment and talk about what cortisol actually does. It is a naturally occurring steroid hormone produced by your adrenal glands in response to signals from the hypothalamus, which is in your brain, the pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands. And it's particularly produced during times of stress or when you have low blood sugar. And for this reason, it's often referred to as the stress hormone. But cortisol actually does all kinds of things. It helps regulate your metabolism, your blood pressure, your immune response, and your body's use of fat, protein, carbohydrate. It has a daily rhythm. It peaks shortly after you wake up. It's called the cortisol awakening response. And it gradually declines. Yeah. And it gradually declines through the day. Now, there are chronic cortisol-based conditions, right? So you can have chronic elevation in cortisol because of intense prolonged stress, certain medications, or conditions like Cushing syndrome. And these can lead to issues like impaired immune function, weight gain, muscle loss, insomnia, and increased cardiovascular disease risk. There's also a condition that's the opposite, where you have insufficient cortisol production. That's called Addison's disease, or sometimes it's called adrenal insufficiency. And that can cause fatigue, low blood pressure, weight loss. And if it's severe enough, you can have an adrenal crisis, what they call a crisis. Okay, so, and just to give you a sense of like how common Cushing's disease and Addison's disease are, they both occur in less than 1/1000th of a percent of the population. It's an incredibly small number.
It's an unfathomably small number.
Yes. So this is another case where the menomarketers have taken what occurs in these chronic conditions like Cushing disease, where your cortisol is elevated, and they also cherry pick a few studies that support the idea that cortisol starts rising in perimenopause. They bundle it all together and they tell you that your cortisol is elevated and you need their solution. But as we noted above, your cortisol has a natural daily cycle. It rises pretty quickly after you wake up for everyone. And it declines when you eat for everyone. And it goes up when you exercise because your body perceives exercise as a mild stressor for everyone. None of these things happen to women in menopause specifically. And as for the research, it's interesting because it's completely mixed. It shows that for some women, cortisol can increase in the later stages of menopause, but definitely not for all women. And there's a very high level of individual variability. There's also a bit of a link between women with depression and cortisol levels. But again, that's not all women going through menopause. And when the research is so very mixed like this, you cannot say with any level of certainty that it increases for everyone. But if we look at the list again of the Cushing's disease symptoms, when you actually do have cortisol levels that are elevated, we see weight gain, muscle mass loss, insomnia. So it's very easy to say to women, oh, like, hey, has your body shape changed? That's your cortisol. It's too high. Sleep issues, cortisol again. Now, there does exist out there, and this is one of the grosser things that I found, something called a hormone balancing coach. Laurel,
is this a TM? Is this a TM?
I mean, maybe by someone. I don't know. Have you seen this phrase used or seen any marketing?
I've heard of like just hormone tossed into like, here's why we're doing this is we're balancing our hormones for like exercise. So it does not surprise me that, or hormone balancing diet, right? Mm-hmm. Surprise me that there's also a coach that does this.
Sure. Listen, how are you going to know how to balance your hormones if a coach doesn't take you through it?
Right.
So I first heard the phrase on social media, hormone balancing coach. And when I did a Google search on the topic, I found the page of somebody who coaches people how to become coaches.
Oh, coaches coaching coaches.
Coaches coaching coaches. And I read her 7 tips on how to become a hormone coach, and had very little to do with education or science. And it had a lot to do with the grift that is the coaching industry.
Yeah.
At one point, it said something like, it would be helpful if you had a nutrition background, but don't worry if you don't. You can just speak from your personal experience, which is just as effective. I was like, oh my God, I have to leave the internet and maybe this entire world. So listen, the bottom of
that is never appropriate. Like not even for personal trainers to like, I'm just going to give you the program that works for me. Like, that's not.
No, but that's good coaching. So the bottom line is, look, the evidence is completely mixed on whether or not cortisol rises during the menopause transition, which means it's a very individual thing and cannot be generalized to or sold products for. But that also means it's a very easy area to cherry pick the evidence that supports your claim, and then you can make a product to fix it.
Yeah. Exactly. Cortisol. All right. So we've talked about weight gain during menopause or perimenopause, cortisol being the culprit. Now let's talk about age-based training. You have to do it differently. You're exercising wrong, all wrong. So now that you are menopausal, you just can't work out the way that you used to because, I mean, the evidence is in your stubborn belly fat. And of course, the goal of all working out is to get rid of stubborn belly fat. Everybody knows that.
Clearly.
And to reiterate, meanwhile, while all of this is being sold to us there's physics. And we know that for everyone, weight loss is related to creating a calorie deficit. So we spent a lot of time talking about this in the Long and Lean Part 2 episode as well, which is that you can't say that Pilates will make you lean. Lean implies fat loss because exercise is a poor tool for fat loss, and Byrne, Ponzer's book, goes into exquisite detail about why that is, right? So even just the notion that exercise can cause you to lose fat, does it contribute to energy balance? Yes, but the far bigger driver is nutrition, right? Is that you need to be in a caloric deficit. So there are a few claims around what you need to do here by lots of different prominent voices, grifters. I mean, Stacy Sims. Stacy Sims is a big one. Mm-hmm. She has this wild claim that you should be doing not zone 2 cardio, but high intensity cardio, like sprinting or plyometrics. Or if, you're tired on a particular day because yesterday you did your sprinting, don't do zone 2 cardio. Again, that's worthless. Go for a nice walk with your friends.
Nice slow walk.
Yeah, like anything in between moderate cardio, zone 2, you really don't want to do that. It provides no health benefits to you now that you are perimenopausal, menopausal. She also has a couple of other really specific claims, like at this stage of your life, you also should lift heavy, but don't go all the way to failure. And, moderate loads probably aren't going to do as much for you. Definitely not light loads. So we haven't been able to figure out where these claims come from in science. Here's a study where Sims was lead investigator. Okay, so she has published some research. Mm-hmm. This is from 2013. It's titled Changes in Physical Activity and Body Composition in Postmenopausal Women Over Time. The study looked at women in 3 age groups, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, and 70 to 79. It found that there was lean muscle mass loss across all groups, regardless of physical activity levels. And since the physical activity reported was generally aerobic exercise, they concluded, they concluded that aerobic exercise was not going to build the lean mass that you need as you age, and you should participate in resistance training instead.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So it seems like this is the study that Sims is using to say that menopausal women should not do aerobic exercise and instead should focus on resistance training. But here's the thing. We already know that aerobic exercise is not the best way to build lean muscle, just like we know broccoli isn't a great source of protein, right? This is regardless of your age. But so what, right? Like we still need to eat the broccoli or vegetables, right? They're not a great source of protein. We still need those micronutrients from the vegetables. We need that fiber. We still have the same cardiovascular health requirements as well, regardless of how old we are. So just because cardio doesn't build muscle, which we've known forever. Why did we do a study in 2013?
I don't know.
I don't know. Decide that we just made that discovery. Just because cardio isn't building muscle doesn't mean it's useless. I mean, the opposite is true. Like cardio is very important for the other types of adaptations and health benefits that it provides. So this is a both and situation. We still obviously need to be doing cardio. We don't call cardio hypertrophy training. We call it cardio, right? If you want to put muscle on your body, lift weights.
Yeah. The other t-shirt I want to make is cardio and carbs. Yeah. It's the two things that are like maligned right now.
Yes. Yes. I have a bumper sticker on my car that says carbs.
Nice.
That's it. It just says carbs.
I love it.
Okay. So here's a much bigger study. This one's called Evaluation of Sex-Based Differences in Resistance Exercise Training-Induced Changes in Muscle Mass, Strength, and Physical Performance in Healthy, Older, Greater than or Equal to 60-year-old adults. A systematic review and meta-analysis. So let me just give you the Cliff's Notes of that. This study is looking at the differences between sexes when we do resistance training and experience training-induced changes. Are there differences, right, between men and women? Are there differences in muscle mass between men and women? Are there differences in strength between men and women? Are there differences in physical performance in healthy older adults who are older than 60 or 60 between men and women? And this was a systematic review and meta-analysis, which is strong evidence, right? It's not a study from 2013, study from 2013. This is a 2023 systematic review and meta-analysis by Hawley et al. So study of all studies, right? They looked at data from 36 studies with over 1,000 men and women included. And this is from the study, this quote. Quote, there are no sex-based differences for absolute or relative changes in limb muscle size, muscle fiber size, or physical performance. Unquote. Bam.
Boom.
Okay, so basically there's no difference in terms of how much muscle men and women can gain, how much stronger they can become, how much better they can physically perform. Yes, men start at a higher baseline of muscle mass because of testosterone, right? They experience an increase in testosterone during puberty. Women do not. But what I find wonderful to know is that we both, men and women, have the same potential for growth from our baseline. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I can get 10% more muscle mass on my body just as easily as a man my age can get 10% more muscle mass on his body if we both train in order to make that happen. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And again, it just shows that you don't need to change your training.
Right. And it also shows we can't claim menopause has changed the way we need to work out.
Here's the thing, like if menopause really did make this massive change that we see in data replicated all over the place, then the guidelines for exercise would say that.
Yeah.
But they don't. They don't say anything different for pregnant women. They don't say anything different, So
it's not like this is being kept a secret from us.
Yeah. Like if this was really true, we would know.
Right.
Right?
Right. Like you ask yourself, like, what is the incentive of hundreds of thousands of scientists all around the world to keep this a secret versus what is the incentive of an individual like Stacy Sims to make it overcomplicated so that you listen to her and buy her shit, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Here's our myth number 4. Menopause causes muscle loss specifically because your estrogen decreases. So the myth is not that your estrogen decreases. That is true. That's what happens in menopause. But the myth is that you're going to suddenly start losing muscle during this time because your estrogen has decreased. So yes, it's true, your estrogen is decreasing, but your muscle loss is just age related. It's not menopause related. Sarcopenia, which is muscle atrophy, that starts potentially as early as your 30s. Data is a little unclear, but it starts well before menopause. And there's this interesting study that a lot of people actually use to try to prove that estrogen loss at menopause causes muscle loss. And at first read, it does seem to prove it, but you have to get into the weeds a little and then you see otherwise. So the study is called Changes in Body Composition and Weight During the Menopause Transition from 2019, Greendale et al. They sampled over 1,200 women from the SWAN data set. SWAN stands for Study of Women's Health Across the Nation. And it's this group of people who undergo regular assessments. They take questionnaires, they do physical measurements, they do biological sample collection, and then it's all just kind of collected. And then researchers can go into this data set and like ask a question. So it's kind of great.
Yeah.
So here's the quote from the paper that might make you think at first that we do lose more muscle mass during menopause. So this is a quote. The total loss of lean mass during the MT, that's menopause transition, averages 0.5%. And then in parentheses, a mean absolute decrease of 0.2 kilograms, which is about a half a pound. The average SWAN participant saw a 1.9% cumulative decline in proportion lean mass over the course of the 3.5-year long menopause transition. So that sounds conclusive, right? It sounds like you are seeing a decrease, right? But let's keep reading. And here's another quote. Jointly examining the rates of change in fat and lean mass during premenopause and the menopause transition sheds light on why there is no measurable change in body weight trajectory accompanying the menopause transition. The rate of increase in the sum of fat mass and lean mass is 0.32 kilograms, which is about 3/4 of a pound per year in premenopause, and 0.4 kilograms, which is about 4/5 of a pound per year during the menopause transition. This is not a discernible change in rate.
Yeah, okay, right? I get it.
So yes, there's change happening, but it's not like a sudden spike in change. It's very similar to the change that was happening before and the change that will be happening later.
Right. It's a steady decline.
Yeah.
Over a much longer period of time than just the menopause transition. So we cannot say that the menopause transition spikes muscle loss.
Right. Or specifically in this case, that your estrogen decreasing spikes muscle loss.
That's right? Yes, better way to say it.
And what's kind of ironic is that Stacey Sims study from 2013 that Laurel mentioned earlier also showed no specific menopause-related difference in muscle mass loss. So, sorry. Now, if we're claiming that a decrease in estrogen is the driver for muscle loss, then it should follow that estrogen-based hormone therapy should either bring your muscle back or at least stop you from losing more, right? If we put the estrogen back in, it should help you not lose any more muscle mass, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Here's a study. Association between hormone therapy and muscle mass in postmenopausal women, a systematic review and meta-analysis, 2019, Javed et al. This was a review of 12 studies that had a total of 4,474 participants. And while it did actually show that women on hormone therapy lost 0.06% less muscle mass than those who were not on hormone therapy, but this amount was not statistically significant. The p-value was 0.26. And for it to be statistically significant, the p-value needs to be 0.05 or below.
Right. So there was too high of a chance that this decline was due to chance, right?
Yes,
that's what it means when it's not statistically significant.
Exactly. And here's from the study itself, here's what it concluded. This is a quote. This systematic review and meta-analysis did not show a significant beneficial or detrimental association of hormone therapy with muscle mass. Although muscle retention in aging women is of crucial importance, these findings suggest that interventions other than hormone therapy should be explored. I don't know, like resistance training.
Yeah.
But, it's easy to see how you could take this study and it's, very meager, non-significant evidence, but twist it around and say, yes, but they saw some improvement.
Right.
Therefore, I'm going to sell you on hormone therapy helping with muscle mass.
Right.
Right? Anything but resistance training. Am I right? Now, here's the thing. MHT, right? Menopause hormone therapy is useful, can be useful for women going through menopause. And we are going to talk about what it can be good for in a moment. But it's unlikely to be related to your muscle mass changes. Yeah. And here's the shocker. You might need to be doing some resistance training in order to combat this just basically age-related sarcopenia.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does feel like we'd rather, as a whole population, sort of generalizing here, seem like we would just rather be doing literally anything but
literally anything.
Like, let me just literally do anything but
anything else. Yeah, seriously. Our bone density course, Lift for Longevity, is your step-by-step guide to building strength and stability while bolstering your bones with barbell training.
And if you join the interest list now, you'll get exclusive free content, plus the biggest and only discount we offer when enrollment opens.
You might be wondering, am I doing the right kind of training to actually support my bone health?
What's the smartest way to keep my body strong without risking injury?
What's the best way to modify lifts if I have joint pain or past injuries?
How do I fit strength training into my busy life and make it a habit that sticks?
If you've ever had questions like these, Live for Longevity will give you the clear, science-backed answers you need.
But here's the thing, we only open enrollment twice a year. That's why the interest list is the best way to stay in the loop.
Sign up now to get expert insights, strength training tips, and first dibs on the best deal we offer.
Your bones will thank you.
Join the interest list now via the link in the show notes.
Myth number 5. Let's talk about rapid bone loss, right? So there's this claim that during menopause we experience rapid bone loss, and that the way that we mitigate this is we need to be lifting heavy to improve it. Okay, so let's start with Stacy Sims. Stacy Sims claims that women lose up to one third of their bone mass during the menopause transition. She's quoted saying this on the Huberman Lab podcast. So when we asked Dr. Lauren Colenso-Semple in our interview with her this season, here's what she had to say about this claim. She says, we achieve peak bone mass in our 20s and then spend the rest of adulthood trying to maintain this bone mass. Around the menopause transition, over about a 10-year period, we see roughly a 1.5% per year bone loss. So that's maybe 10% over the menopause transition. Not 1/3 of your bone mass. However, it's not really generalizable because there are a lot of factors that go into your bone mass, including how much you banked during those earlier years, your genetics, your physical activity, and nutrition. And then there are also several risk factors for losing bone mass, including smoking, drinking more than 3 units a day, excessively low BMI, for example, eating disorders or malnutrition, a family history of fracture, steroid use, and more. It's also looking like the role of genetics is huge with bone mineral density.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing I want to say is you've already heard the first episode of the season where Sarah and I talk about does it have to be heavy, and about how Sarah and I have changed our message around what is required with regards to exercise intensity, with regards to resistance training, and, slowing bone loss or reversing bone loss or reversing things like osteoporosis and osteopenia. And so, I want to also acknowledge that we, prior to encountering a relatively new meta-analysis, but not actually a brand new meta-analysis, thought, and by the way, so did, and we talk about this in the episode, so did many other people of a much higher level of authority around this topic than we do. We thought that heavy loads were probably most important for building bone anywhere in the body. And what we've learned, right, and you can listen to the episode, we'll link it in the show notes, what we've learned is that actually moderate loads can be beneficial, and heavy loads are also beneficial, and potentially maybe in some circumstances, light loads can be beneficial. Listen to the episode for much more on this, but I did want to say that we also have learned and have changed our message around this idea that you need to be lifting heavy weights only, high intensity resistance training only, in order to build bone. Okay. So, all right, back to Sim's claim about losing 1/3 of your bone mass during the menopause transition. Here's a study. Longitudinal changes in bone mineral density during perimenopausal transition, the Vietnam osteoporosis study. Okay, so here we're looking at long-term changes to bone mineral density during this period of time, perimenopause. Okay, so this is a 2023 study by L.T. Foham, I might be pronouncing that wrong, and colleagues. All right, so over 1,000 women received 2 DEXA scans of the femoral neck and lumbar spine, spaced out 2 years apart. They found that there was already bone mineral density loss occurring at both locations between the ages of 45 and 49. This is the general perimenopausal age, and this loss was around 0.5%. This did then increase between the ages of 49 to 54 to around 1.3% of loss before declining to 0.3% loss after age 55. So, yes, there is an increase in bone mineral density loss from 0.5% to 1.3% in this perimenopause time. But this is hardly the 1/3 that Stacy Sims claims. Here's another study. Bone mineral density changes during the menopause transition in a multi-ethnic cohort of women. The lead author is Finkelstein and colleagues, the years 2008. This study was also one that used the SWAN data, and it indicates that being underweight increases your bone mineral density loss. Okay, so maybe we shouldn't be so quick to try and get rid of that stubborn belly fat, huh?
Just saying.
Okay, so now to clarify, any decently programmed exercise plan takes you through starting out. If you're a beginner, right? This is for beginners, right? Any decently programmed exercise plan will take you from lifting a light weight to then probably lifting a more moderately heavy weight in order to maybe eventually get you to heavy. Okay? You would never start heavy. Only an unqualified sadist who's trying to hurt you would take you as a newbie from not lifting to lifting heavy.
Yeah.
So this is great news because it means that even if you want to lift heavy weights, for which there are a lot of positive reasons to do so, many of which we talk about in our episode on if it has to be heavy, right? The work you are doing to get there could also be contributing to your bone density in addition to many other benefits.
Yeah. Yay.
Woohoo.
Okay. Here's our myth number 6. You need to supplement with creatine. Okay. So just as a reminder, neither Laurel nor myself are medical doctors or dietitians. Any sort of nutrition or supplement advice, we are presenting the evidence to the best of our abilities. Please consult your doctor about supplementing if it is something that you think you need to be doing. This topic of supplements could be its own episode, and maybe at some point in the future we'll do one. We have talked about it, and then we just both went, ugh, and didn't want to deal. So, and I actually started looking at like all of the supplement myths, and then I was like, this is going to make this episode 7 hours long. So for today, we're just going to talk about the myth that you need creatine specifically. Yeah. We're going to talk a lot about the other supposed supplementing you need in menopause, like turmeric and collagen and many others in our Menopause Grifters episode that's coming up later this season. Now, it's true. You might need to supplement, but you also might not. Mm-hmm. And it's very likely you don't have to do the entire list or stack or bundle, even if you save, quote unquote, save by doing it. It always makes me laugh when they're like, save, buy 3 and save. And I'm like, but I'm spending more. How am I saving? So when we spoke to Dr. Lauren Colenso-Semple, she made the excellent and honestly kind of seemingly obvious point that if you have to supplement, it suggests that you are lacking in something. So you should probably find out if you're actually lacking in that something before you decide that you need to add more of it to your diet and to your body.
Yeah.
And then just as a heads up, while there are some regulatory standards that the FDA oversees for supplements, companies do not have to prove efficacy or safety to the FDA before their product goes on the market. They do not have to for supplements. It's like a little carve out. So you will basically always see an asterisk after a claim like, this product has been shown in clinical trials to make you more attractive to women. And then the tiny writing at the bottom says, these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. I swear to God, Laurel, I saw one where it was like a list of like, this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen, and this will happen. They all had an asterisk after them, and it all went to these statements have not been evaluated. Like, I was like, you're just admitting on this page that you're making this up.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, and here's the other thing. Talk about a great market to get into if you're a sleazebag, because the global supplement market is estimated to be worth $192.65 billion with a B.
Yeah.
In 2024, it's projected to reach $414 billion with a B by 2023. No, excuse me, 2033.
Another unfathomable number.
But Laurel, here's the thing. Sometimes I wonder if the high road is really the road.
Yeah.
Like maybe we should just take the low road and market movement logic supplements and scare women into buying stuff they don't need. And then we can both retire early and sit around and count our money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, until we both turn into sleaze bags, let's talk about one of the most commonly claimed necessities when it comes to supplements for women in the menopause transition, and that is creatine.
Uh-huh.
You have probably seen everywhere that now that you are menopausal, you need to be taking creatine so you can build more muscles.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I know I need more muscle. So this follows, right? The other factoid that I don't think is actually anywhere near fact, I've been seeing everywhere, is something about how women store 70% of the amount of creatine that men store.
Sounds
And
fishy.
therefore you need to supplement. Yeah. I find this an odd argument because just because we don't store as much of it, doesn't automatically mean we're supposed to be storing the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
And they also don't clarify if this 70% is a relative amount related to body size or if it's an absolute amount. Like it's just this like
number,
bizarre
70%.
made up thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Ooh, I need to make up that extra 30% somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's have a quick little science corner. What's up with creatine? So creatine monohydrate, what does it actually do for you? We naturally make creatine in our liver and our kidneys. And then it's transported for storage mostly to our muscle cells. And that's where it's converted into something called phosphocreatine. And phosphocreatine is then used in the energy cycle. I start to have like hot flashes related to how much I hated the energy cycle just anytime I talk about it.
Definitely.
And it's used to convert ADP to ATP. ATP is the usable energy that we use for movement. Mm-hmm. And that is the shortest way I just can describe what creatine does without hurting my brain and yours too much. Okay, so here's our question. Does creatine supplementation build lean muscle mass? Here's our study. Efficacy of creatine supplementation combined with resistance training on muscle strength and muscle mass in older females, a systematic review and meta-analysis. By the way, anytime you see something that says systematic review and meta-analysis after it, you should be thinking to yourself, this is probably a pretty good study because it's looking at a bunch of other studies. And that's one of the best ways that we can look at a theory or an argument and say, okay, is there evidence for it? One study on its own is generally not good enough. Okay, so this is a 2024 systematic review meta-analysis from Dos Santos et al. They looked at 10 randomized controlled trials. Now, randomized controlled trials in and of themselves are the gold standard of the type of study that you can do. So this is a very high quality paper already. So they looked at 10 RCTs of older women and their strength measures and lean muscle mass measures. They split the analysis into two groups because the studies had a lot of variation. The studies that were under 14 weeks and the studies that were 6 months or longer. And in both groups, the women were doing resistance training and either taking creatine or taking a placebo. For the studies lasting under 14 weeks, there was no significant impact on strength for the creatine group. But for the 6-month studies, there was significant upper and lower body strength increases. But overall, they found, even though they were RCTs, the quality of the evidence overall was found to be low. And they found no change in lean muscle mass for either of the groups. Mm-hmm. And then in the discussion of the paper, they say this thing that seems to completely refute this idea of the 70% of storage. They state, and this is a quote, there is some evidence that females in comparison to males may have higher intramuscular creatine stores pre-supplementation, which may blunt their responsiveness to exogenous creatine.
Oh, okay.
Right? So this is in direct opposition to this idea about we're storing 70% compared to men, and so we need to take it.
Right.
The bottom line is it might increase your strength output if you take it for over 6 months and you are doing resistance training.
That's the key. That's the key. It's the resistance training that's really going to move the needle.
Yes. And the creatine might nudge it ever so slightly.
Dr. Lauren was like, it might be the difference between you being able to lift a weight 10 times versus if you're on creatine 11 times, right?
Right. So If you really want to take it, from what I'm reading, it's not dangerous, but it's also you're a little bit flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah, and also creatine is not the type of supplement that you would be deficient in and then prescribed.
Right.
So creatine is one of the only safe, affordable, and legal performance enhancing substances that athletes can take. That being said, just as Sarah said, it's probably not going to move the needle anywhere near as much as like just training in a sensible way at a proper intensity.
So there's also claims out there that creatine can enhance your bone mineral density.
Of course there is.
Not to spoil the answer, but this study is called Creatine Supplementation During Resistance Training Does Not Lead to Greater Bone Mineral Density in Older Humans, a Brief Meta-Analysis.
Womp womp. Yeah.
Womp womp. Yeah. This is a meta-analysis by Forbes et al. From 2018. And let's just be, let's look at this question a little more scientifically for a moment. We know that the creatine in our body is stored in our muscles mostly, and it acts on ADP to create ATP, which our muscles then use for energy. So it's already, it feels like a bit of a leap to try and link that to bone mineral density changes, unless you're claiming that because creatine is improving strength, that means the muscles are pulling on the bones more, thus building more bone density. But that feels like a really big fucking stretch to me. This meta-analysis looked at 5 studies around creatine and bone mineral density with resistance training. And here's an example of why it is important to get your evidence from meta-analyses and systematic reviews rather than individual studies. Because 2 of the studies did show bone mineral density improvement, but the meta-analysis of all of the studies together showed that there was no increase in bone mineral density with resistance training and creatine.
Okay.
But let's say you wanted to show evidence that creatine builds bone. You would just cite one of the 2 studies included as proof, right?
Yeah. That's called cherry picking.
Yeah. And also, I mean, to be honest, how many people go and actually read the study? They just see somebody standing in front of a study and pointing at things. They're like, oh, that seems scientific.
Especially if the person is a doctor, a medical doctor.
Yeah, exactly. So what a meta-analysis does is it zooms out and it looks at all of the evidence available, which in this instance showed that creatine does not have a significant impact on bone. Also, underneath the heading of I just threw up in my mouth a little bit, there is creatine for women.
Pink it.
It's up there. Do you remember the Bic pen?
Pink it and drink it.
Yep, seriously. Jesus. Bic came out with a pen for women in 2012. Do you remember that?
Jesus Christ. No,
the only difference was, I mean, it was pink. It was pink and purple.
Strike that one from my memory.
So it's not different than that, right? It's just a way to market and sell creatine at a higher price point. There's no difference in the actual creatine. And the super, super gross selling point that they're using on this creatine for women is that it won't make you bulky.
Oh, which is what? That's the whole fucking point.
Well, I mean, yeah, right? Seriously. But it's true because based on research, no research showed that increased muscle mass. So no, it's not going to make you bulky, but to play into women's internalized fears around their appearance.
So wait, so the creatine in this study didn't contribute to increases in muscle mass either.
Right. It showed increases in strength. It did not show any increases in lean muscle mass. So
creatine will not make you bulky as long as you don't resistance train. Also, I just want to back up.
No. It's not that. You can resistance train and take creatine. You'll see strength improvements like doing 11 reps instead of 10. You're not going to see hypertrophy.
Okay.
So no creatine anywhere ever is making anybody bulky, but they're saying it won't make you bulky. Like it's a special ladies only creatine because ladies don't want to be bulky.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. I think that, this whole, I just wanted to explain why I was, suggesting that like we should want to get bulky because bulky is a meaningless term, right? Exactly. Bulky is a dog whistle term. Yes. It's meant to make women afraid to put any amount of muscle on their body. If a woman wanted to actually go from being like whatever size body composition they are to bulky, That would require a lot of like a complete overhaul of their entire life where they suddenly start like eating a lot of food, a lot of protein, like training a lot in like sort of a bodybuilder type protocol. And like then they might even probably need like some performance enhancing drugs like on top of that, like hormones. So yeah. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but this is good to know. So creatine doesn't actually increase muscle mass. It just increases strength performance, improves strength.
Oh, I should say this specific study, it doesn't increase muscle mass for older females.
Okay. But these females were doing resistance training is my question.
They were doing resistance training.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad I clarified that because I feel like if you're able to do the 11th rep instead of just 10, like that is going to also contribute to muscle hypertrophy, right? You know, if you're able to be stronger and do more reps, this will potentially also cause muscle hypertrophy. So I'd be really surprised if all the research out there on creatine shows that it doesn't contribute to an increase in muscle mass. That's why I was like, wait, what? It doesn't?
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also like, it's not like eat the creatine, your muscles explode.
You have to do resistance training.
You have to do resistance training. And all the creatine does is give you greater tolerance for more resistance training.
Right. Which is a way to progressively overload.
Right. And is a way to, exactly.
But it's going to be so small.
Exactly. Bitty bitty.
Yeah, very small. Okay.
All right.
Myth number 7, everything is a menopause symptom versus just part of aging. We're not going to talk about the just part of aging thing because that's boring and I can't sell you anything around that.
Right.
And I can't differentiate myself in the marketplace and like define my audience. This is a menopause symptom, people.
Exactly.
So that includes achy joints, menopause, right? Not age, menopause. Not physical activity levels, menopause. Not stress in your life, no, menopause. Muscle mass loss.
Not possible arthritis.
No.
Menopause.
Yeah, normal age-related changes to your joint. No. Menopause.
There you go.
Muscle mass loss. Menopause. Not related to decreased physical activity levels. No. Muscle loss is menopause. Bone mass loss is increased because of decreased estrogen. There is going to be an accelerated decrease in estrogen and a corresponding increase in the rate of decline of bone mineral density, but you're not suddenly osteoporotic because you're in menopause, right?
Yeah.
It's not like the bones are just like leaking out of your body.
Yeah. You just wake up one day and they just snap.
Yeah. Like 1/3 of your bone mass is not pouring out of your bones into your bloodstream like a waterfall or a gushing river. Okay.
Right.
Weight gain, menopause, must be menopause.
Must be. Can't be anything else.
Here's a list. Here's a rapid fire list of things that are absolutely because of menopause, and more specifically to the change in estrogen that is taking place. So these are part of menopause transition, right? Hot flashes, yes. Estrogen is involved in thermoregulation of your body. Cold flashes, less well known, but yes, same reason. Mood swings and irritability, yes, possibly.
Yeah.
Because, well, let's think about why we would be irritable if maybe we're being woken up a lot during the night because of hot flashes and then aren't sleeping, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's where I also want to say, like, is it that you're irritable and are experiencing mood swings because of menopause? Definitely. Or is it maybe that your life is a little annoying, right? Like, yeah, I'm not denying that menopause could be causing us to have like irritable, low mood. But that is such a multifactorial thing. Like it could also be occurring because of other things in your life. I think, women experience menopause, men don't, right? And they like to slap it's fucking menopause label onto it. And while, okay, that might be true, I'm acknowledging that, we potentially then like shut out all the other possible things that might be contributing to our low mood or our irritability, like lifestyle, like the fucking patriarchy.
Yeah.
Like, are you irritable because of menopause, or are you irritable because you're doing way too fucking much? Like, you are the one in charge of the kids. You are the one in charge of the house. You are the one in charge of also bringing in half the income. You are the one in charge of doing the food shopping and the cooking, right?
Right.
Is your partner, your husband, probably helping out in the ways you need him to? Or do you do all this work and then you feel irritable and you go, oh, it must be menopause? I mean, I don't know.
I would be irritated.
Yeah, and also we know that exercise has mood enhancing benefits. Are you exercising regularly?
Yeah.
We know that alcohol is a depressant. Are you drinking 1, 2, 3 glasses of wine every night? We also know that alcohol is not great for sleep. So there's a lot of, yes, probably true, menopause can cause us to experience mood swings and irritability. And this is probably most especially true if you've noticed the only thing that has significantly changed in your life is this transition into menopause, right? And then you notice these mood swings and this irritability, but it's also possible that other things have changed in your life, right? Or that things have just gotten harder to handle or to tolerate, right? You finally had it with how little time you have for yourself, or how underappreciated you are or feel, right? Okay, there's also, as Sarah mentioned, genitourinary symptoms of menopause. These are the physical changes to the genitourinary tissues, including general tissue atrophy, clitoral hood covering. The clitoral hood will cover more of the clitoris. Vaginal tissue will become dry or painful. Then this is sort of also mentioned, insomnia. There are many lifespan sleep studies that indicate that sleep duration decreases as we age, just generally, and also that sleep timing changes, like when we naturally go to sleep and wake up also shifts. But there are also indicators that sleep is disturbed during menopause. For example, by those vasomotor symptoms, those hot flashes, or in this case, night sweats, right? These wake you up. Okay.
Yeah. So maybe you're not just having random insomnia. Maybe you're getting woken up because you're having a hot flash, right? A night sweat.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like that has even happened. That has happened to me a little bit here and there.
Yeah. So, your point I think is really accurate. That there are certain things that we can say, absolutely, yes, this is menopause specific. But those are the more, the things that we can talk about where the systems in your body are being dysregulated by the decrease in estrogen. So that thermoregulation, right? This happens to me all the time. If I've been sitting down for a long time, like watching a TV show, and then I stand up to go to the kitchen to get a glass of water, I'm suddenly freezing because my decreased estrogen means my body doesn't know how to start moving the blood around my body faster to keep me warm. And freezing, like shaking freezing. It's the craziest thing.
Wow.
Or I would find that I would lie down, and after about 3 minutes of being prone, I would get a hot flash because again, the change in body position, my body was just like, what? So those things, absolutely. But these bigger, broader categories like insomnia, like irritability, brain fog, mood, we like to start to look at these as evidence that oh, that's menopause, right? Oh, I can't find that word. That's menopause. There's just as many 20-year-olds who can't find a word as there are 60-year-olds, right? So, but we just like to blame it on going through this transition. So I do think it's important to really make this point that yes, there are some things, but to just take a huge paintbrush and claim every single thing that could possibly be happening in your life right now is because of the menopause is inaccurate.
Yeah. And I feel like I also want to add here that this reminds me a lot, always selecting out these symptoms or experiencing or things that are going on in our life that might be related to menopause, but also might be related to other things, kind of relating them always back to this menopause transition. It reminds me a little bit of the nocebo effect, where you start to feel like this whole time of my life is like a minefield of symptoms, a terrible time to be alive, just an absolute miserable nightmare of an experience. And it's going to last for years. And you begin to pathologize actually this completely normal, not easy for everyone and not easy for most, I would say, this normal transition.
Yeah.
Right? I think that this will cause you to relate to it more like a disease, more like a pathology instead of this, what is a normal life transition. It really reminds me of pathologizing posture, of catastrophizing aches and pains, of, thinking that your back or hip hurts because your SI joint is unstable and slipping out of place. It becomes a story, not to say that it's a completely false story, right? Like, I don't want to minimize any of the challenges and difficulties that people have faced during this time. And I'm starting to get just a little hint of, right? Everyone's menopause transition is also so individual and different, right? Yeah. Which I think is worth saying. But if people online, because that's where a lot of this conversation is happening, are constantly telling you how terrible menopause is and how awful it's going to be or is for you, and naming every possible thing that could go on in someone's life and always tracing it back to menopause, I'd be very skeptical about this entire narrative that they're crafting. And I'd ask yourself, like, why are they telling the story in this way? Why are they framing it in this way? Why are they setting it up as this terrible, all-encompassing problem, when we know that a lot of the symptoms that people like to attribute to menopause could be caused by other things as well that are going on simultaneously, right? I feel like it can narrow your lens. It can make your body feel like a minefield. It can cause you to continue to spin this like negative story about yourself and your experience. And is that helpful?
Not really.
Right. Are you being manipulated? Right? Are you being manipulated so that this person can actually bring you into their
subscribe and save?
Yeah. Get you to click the link in their show notes or bio or whatever it is. I don't know.
All right. So here's our last myth that we're covering. There's definitely more, but we're trying to make these episodes come in under 2 hours. We don't always succeed, but
we're going to be close with this one.
Yeah. So this is that menopause hormone therapy is dangerous, or the exact opposite. Everyone can and should use menopause hormone therapy. Yeah. So the old story, which hopefully at this point you're maybe familiar with, but I'm going to describe it just in case you're not. There was a study done by the WHI in 2002 that overemphasized the possibility of getting cancer if you took hormone replacement therapy, as it was called at the time. So thousands, more than thousands, hundreds of thousands of women who could have benefited from the relief that menopause hormone therapy, MHT, which is what we call it now, could have given them, either stopped taking it or they were just too afraid to start. And then somewhere in the past, like 5 to 10 years, the original researchers on that 2002 study have come out to say that they misinterpreted that research. And then in fact, the risk factor for cancer is much lower. It's not nothing, but it's much lower than what they originally reported. So we've moved away now from believing that MHT is dangerous, but the pendulum has kind of swung like super aggressively in the other direction, where now every single menopausal woman should be on MHT, when in fact, that's not the case either.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at this. I got a lot of this information from The Vagenda, which is such a good title. I
just love it.
Which is Dr. Jen Gunter's Substack that I subscribe to. And I've learned a lot of really good, no-nonsense information from, and I highly recommend it. She has this encyclopedic series of blog posts that's called Gunter's Guide to the Hormone Menoverse. That alone makes the subscription price of the Substack worth it. Yeah. So if you really want to go in there and understand it incredibly thoroughly, that's a great resource that I really recommend. So menopause hormone therapy can help a lot of women with a lot of their symptoms that are due to menopause, like hot flashes, genitourinary symptoms of menopause, sometimes osteoporosis. We'll talk about that in a second, so on. But it's often marketed as a way to stay like young and sexy because you still have your hormones, which is just disgusting.
Yeah.
There are 2 ways, essentially, that women can use hormone therapy. And the hormone therapy can include estradiol, which is a precursor to estrogen, I believe, progesterone and testosterone. You can either do oral therapy, meaning it's in a pill form, or you can do topical vaginal therapy, meaning it's a cream or a lotion specifically for the genitourinary symptoms of menopause. Generally speaking, the purpose of the progesterone being included, because it's just your estrogen that's declining, but it's included to protect the lining of the uterus from irregular bleeding that would likely take place if you were taking estrogen by itself. So there is a lot of prescription of menopause hormone therapy as preventative for disease risks. And I want to read you a quote from the Gunter's Guide to the Menoverse that I mentioned earlier. This post is titled, "Who Should Take Menopause Hormone Therapy?" And it's discussing who should take it for disease prevention. This is not for menopause symptoms. And this is the quote, "Overall, the earlier someone has menopause, the greater their risk of heart disease, osteoporosis, and dementia. And the later they go into menopause, the greater their risk of breast cancer. This is all related to cumulative estrogen exposure. Menopausal hormone therapy is recommended for everyone who goes through menopause before age 45, which is not most people, or who experiences primary ovarian insufficiency, as long as it is safe for them to take estrogen. Meaning, this is still the quote, by the way, meaning the answer to the question, should everyone take menopausal hormone therapy, is no, not everyone. We only recommend hormone therapy as disease prevention for people who reached menopause before age 45 or who have primary ovarian insufficiency." So I feel like there's been a bit of a trend of like people perhaps where you are, Laurel, that are sort of starting to see some symptoms of menopause, and they're like, oh shit, slap some hormones on it, right? But depending on your age, if you're trying to, offset the potential of these disease risks that we see when you don't have estrogen in your body as long as typical, right? It's for a very small fraction of people. Now, if you're getting into having menopause symptoms, and in terms of symptom management, here's a list of symptoms that MHT can be prescribed for that Gunter calls the green lights, meaning there's solid evidence to support it. So
support the prescription of MHT for the treatment of these symptoms. Yeah.
Yes. Hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal symptoms, right? GSM. But in that case, you want to use topical, not oral. And then this is interesting. Osteoporosis prevention for those at high risk.
Right.
Which is not everyone. Mm-mm. Generally speaking, hormone therapy is not indicated as a drug therapy for osteoporosis.
And high risk would be like you have it in your family history, you're underweight, you had a history of eating disorders, you were on
like if you
steroids.
Did that Frax test.
Yes.
And then you came out like high risk,
right.
You might be someone for whom that is appropriate, assuming there's not other reasons why it would not be appropriate.
Right.
She also says there's some yellow light indications for prescription, meaning there's not really solid evidence to support it, but there's some, and you might choose to try it and see if it helps. So this is for depression and or anxiety, any sort of metabolic syndrome or diabetes, prediabetes prevention, libido, and joint and muscle pain. So it could maybe, but there's not great evidence. There's not like solid evidence to support it the way there is for things like hot flashes and night sweats and GSM.
Yeah.
And then here's a list of things that it won't do jack shit for. Ready?
Yeah.
Skin quality. There was this super gross old idea that you can like look at a woman and tell if she's taking estrogen based on her skin quality.
Yikes.
No. Brain fog. Dementia or Alzheimer's prevention. Hair loss, weight loss, preventing cardiovascular disease, or maintaining muscle mass, as we showed earlier.
Yeah.
Now, just because you can take it, it doesn't automatically mean it's going to fix any of these green light or yellow light symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's actually contraindicated for a lot of populations, including people who are at an increased risk of blood clots, because estrogen increases this risk. If you have any sort of liver disease or gallbladder disease, people at a high or moderate risk of cardiovascular disease, and people with a history of breast cancer, like myself, I can't take systemic estrogen because my cancer was something called ER/PR positive, estrogen receptor, progesterone receptor positive, meaning it feeds off of the estrogen in my body, right? That's why they shoved me into menopause. But this is new because like I've been battling about this for a few years. It is safe for people with a history of breast cancer, assuming other risks are not included, that you can do topical. Please do not start doing it because I just said that. Please go to your oncologist, your gynecologist, get your team on board. Anyone who has a history of breast cancer, everyone's exact situation is different. In my situation, I'm very grateful that I am able to do topical, but for some people, it's still not the risk factor is too high.
Yeah.
Okay. So the bottom line is that you yourself, person listening to this, are having a very individual, subjective menopause transition experience. And you should talk to your doctor.
Doctor as in the one you go see for checkups, the one
medical
dealing
doctor.
with. It's just not the doctor on the internet.
No,
not that one.
You go to your primary care doctor. You go to your GYN. You go to literally anybody because they're going to give you the best insight as to whether MHT is appropriate for you.
Yeah.
This is a real thing that exists. Taking a quiz online and having a doctor who you have never met prescribe your menopause hormone therapy is a bad idea.
Yeah.
So we do want to say as well that not all doctors are completely up to speed because a lot of this is truly like past 5-10 years of what's being shown in studies and things. So it always takes a little bit of time to trickle through. But if you are looking for a doctor who is a menopause specialist or perhaps who has, just better education, you can go to something called the North American Menopause Society. And we will link to that in show notes. And you can do a search there for a certified menopause practitioner. Here's what's super ironic. When I did that search just now to make sure that I was going to say the right thing, the first thing that came up, the sponsored one, was My Alloy, which is one of these like online, find menopause relief for you. Take a quiz with our doctor. Blah, 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 blah. It's so gross. So don't do that, but do. Don't do
that doo-doo.
Do a doo-doo and look up the Menopause Society.
Look it up while you do a doo-doo.
That's right. Okay.
And I also just want to add here that it's important to recognize why there are so many meno-grifters out there. What is the gap, the void that they are filling? And we'll probably talk a lot more about this in our grifter episode, but we have to acknowledge the fact that it's because women have been woefully underserved by medicine, by medical doctors up until now, and it's getting better. And that's why, unfortunately, in this country, why the grift and capitalism has been able to kind of swoop in and go, oh, you're not being listened to. Oh, your symptoms aren't being taken seriously. Oh, it's okay. I have the answers. I'm up on the quote cherry-picked research that I'm sharing with you to get you to buy this supplement stack that I've cherry-picked research around that is mostly useless. So this North American Menopause Society is a resource where you can actually seek out actual medical doctors who are up on the research and are not selling you supplement stacks, hopefully.
Right.
Who are going to take your symptoms seriously, who do know the most evidence-based best practices for handling those symptoms, that aren't going to immediately go, menopause hormone therapy? Oh no, that causes breast cancer based on this Women's Health Initiative study and everything that came from that and the fallout from that. They are going to have a much more up-to-date and nuanced way of treating your symptoms. So use this website, use this resource, and just know that just because there are grifters online selling you useless shit and we don't like that, doesn't mean that we are saying that any medical doctor is also going to do right by you. Okay, because that's not necessarily true either. Like a lot of them are kind of still like basing their treatment off of stuff they learned in college, maybe. It's like
medical school, yeah.
Being a doctor's hard.
Yeah.
And they're busy and there's a lot to think about. But if you want potentially more careful care around this particular series of symptoms in this transition, check out the North American Menopause Society database.
Yeah. And I would say as well, let's say you find a doctor and you're like, they seem good. Do a cross check and see if they have a website where they're selling a supplement stack. And if they do, I would moveon.com to find somebody else.
Yep.
All right. So let's have some concluding thoughts. So why is this suddenly such a big industry? Well, we know obviously that there are the financial reasons, right? It's this huge market. We've got this age group of women who've been previously ignored by all of this, now getting a ton of attention. And they're also at an age where they probably have more money available to spend, right? Mm-hmm. If I earn more now as a 50-year-old than I have in my entire life. Maybe that has to do with my life choices, but still, you're in a more sort of settled phase of your life. You're not like out exploring the world with a backpack and a sandwich, right? So you've got more money to spend. You're possibly earning more money.
Yeah.
And so it's this kind of like untapped cash bag grab that I think is very appealing to people who want to just make a bunch of money. So it also taps into this, yet again, patriarchal requirement for women to stay attractive and sexy. Get rid of that stubborn belly fat. Why? Because men don't like it, possibly. I don't know that that's even actually true, but that's the idea, right? Mm-hmm. Stay on the hormones so that you stay youthful. Your skin looks great. Your hair looks amazing. Nobody can tell how old you are. That's a lot of the underlying sales pitch. It's not just help your hot flashes. It's, oh, you're going to lose that ugly belly fat and fit into those jeans from college. Mm-hmm. You know, and
it just continues to reinforce this idea that women's value is reliant solely on how they look and that they look youthful. It's like you have to be of childbearing age and appear that way because somehow there's this unspoken idea that that's the time when a woman is most important / useful / valuable to society. And it's gross. This is gross.
It's gross. I saw also a headline from National Geographic. I did not read the article because it was behind a paywall, but it was talking about women going through menopause, that they're seeing an increase in eating disorders. Mm. And it's kind of unsurprising to me because, again, we're getting this messaging again that, something's wrong with your body. Yeah. You did something wrong. You're not working out right. You need to take some turmeric or hormones or whatever. Make yourself attractive again. And the other reason it's not that surprising to me is that we are the generation, like we grew up with Kate Moss.
Yeah.
We grew up with heroin chic. We grew up having eating disorders. I had an eating disorder. So it's a very familiar landscape to be returning to for a lot of women, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we may have mentioned this somewhere along the line, but this idea of optimization that people like Huberman and others sell, where it's like you have to be optimizing every single aspect of your life. You have to be doing exactly the right exercise and taking the exact right supplements at the right time. And you have to do this and then do that, but never do this before you do, all of this kind of thing of like that you're hacking your life to make it as optimal as possible kind of stuff. It's Huberman optimization for the menopausal women population. Mm-hmm. It's optimize this experience, fix it for yourself. Here's the best way you can go through menopause. And all of that is just about getting people to spend money.
Yeah, it 100% is, because if we want to talk about optimizing our, I don't know, physiology or biology or mental health or just lives, I guess, in general, in terms of our bodies, like the basics are still what work the best and they're free. Right? Yep. Sleep. Not that food is free, and in fact, it's uncomfortably expensive, but eat food that's nutritious and exercise. Yeah. And that's just not, you can't sell a lifestyle stack.
Shit. You really can't. Okay. So I also wanted to leave you with some people that you should follow or pay attention to because they are consistently putting out really good information. Two of them you've already heard us refer to, Dr. Jen Gunter, and I'll link to all of the social media for these people. And also Dr. Lauren Colenso Semple We also really like the Front Page Fitness podcast. There is some good myth busting, but they're also talking about bizarre health headlines from the New York Post.
Yeah.
And then there's someone that Dr. Gunter recently recommended. Her name is Professor Susan Davis.
She's like the foremost researcher on testosterone therapy for women in general. Like she's done just an enormous amount of studying of this anabolic steroid hormone. So she's debunking in this video that Gunter shares a lot of myths around like whether or not women should now take testosterone.
Right.
Because now that's a thing, right?
Yeah. And we are trying real hard to see if we can get Jen Gunter on this podcast. Or if we can't, I'm going to go after Professor Susan Davis.
Gotta go after her.
In a nice way. I'd go after sounds aggressive. I'm going to see if she would be willing to come
I'm going to reach out to her in a well-worded email.
Exactly. That's really what I meant. I didn't mean go after her with a machine gun. These are all people just giving well-reasoned, well-thought-out advice. These are research professionals. These are also, none of them are selling a supplement stack.
Yeah.
So that to me now is like my number one red flag.
It's like our friends at Conspirituality, their refrain is watch what they say, but then watch what they sell. And it's usually if what they're saying spins a narrative around what they sell.
Right.
Usually supplements are at the bottom of it. It just kind of turns out that way.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you found it useful and entertainingly useful. Please sign up if you are interested in our
supplement stack.
Our supplement stack. Our stack is barbell plates.
Yeah.
It's not a stack of supplements.
We teach you how to get stacked.
There you go. So yeah, please sign up if you are interested in our bone density course, Lift for Longevity. It's our 6-month barbell weightlifting program. You do not have to have any prior history lifting barbells.
And the vast majority of the people who take our course are beginners.
Yep. If you sign up for the list, you will have the only access point to our special discount code. And as well, while we're waiting for November to roll around, we will start barraging you with free things. And who doesn't like free things?
Yes.
Even when they're like thrown at your head. I don't know what I'm saying at this point.
Barraging.
Yeah. Okay. Laurel, anything else that I need to say?
I think you got it all.
Do we get it all in?
Very
rate, review, subscribe.
Yeah.
Rate, review, subscribe.
That's right. We always forget that one.
Yeah.
Rate, review, subscribe.
Share with a friend.
Share with a friend. Share with a friend.
Yeah. Share with a friend.
If you have a friend who is regurgitating a lot of the myths that we just talked about and talking about how they're on their supplement stack and that they need to lift weights in a certain way and that they do their sprint training and that they're balancing their hormones and decreasing their cortisol, maybe send them this episode, but beware of the backfire effect.
Yes. And truly the rating and the reviewing and the subscribing do make a difference. So we really appreciate those of you who have already taken the time to do it. If you are a regular listener, if you've been listening for a while and you're like me, when people get to this part of the podcast where you just turn it off, consider please possibly not just turning it off and going in and at least giving us 5 stars.
Please.
All right.
All righty.
We will see you next week.
Yeah, I think that's good.